Tokyo. Recording on the board.
Good morning and welcome to the USA Cares podcast. I'm your host, Matt Castor. I am joined in studio today with Alexis Becker. Good morning, Alexis.
Good morning.
Are you fired up and ready to go?
Always.
All right, because last time you were kind of dragging, so hopefully you're
a
little more perky today.
And I'd say so.
Okay, a little bit. So welcome to all of you who are regulars to the USA Cares podcast. Welcome to all of you who are new to the USA Cares podcast. We just want to let you know what this is. So this is a podcast for veterans, for really celebrating the whole veteran community. So we touch on topics from what it's like to transition out of the military. We share a lot of military stories. We talk about ways that we can help and that other nonprofits can help, and really some of the help that you can look for out there. We just want to be supportive. We want to be there for our community, and we want to serve those who have served us so well. So we're glad you're here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, become part of the podcast, and make this part of your weekly routine. So, Alexis,
Matt,
hey.
Hey.
So we have, we are very blessed to have a lot of companies and a lot of people who are going out of their way right now to really make all this happen across the country.
Yes.
Amazing people.
It's awesome.
Yes.
It's awesome.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about chapters of USA Cares. So chapters of USA Cares are popping up all over the place. And this last week was, or actually a couple days ago, was really special. We got a chance to go down to Fort Campbell and the Army base at Fort Campbell and spend some time with the 101st Airborne, tour the base, and spent some great time with the Command Sergeant Major Knapp, who was just very gracious and very welcoming, and was excited to learn more about what we're doing. So thank you to everybody at Fort Campbell. It was really an honor. We're excited to get the chapter up and running at Fort Campbell and around the Clarksville, Tennessee area. Thank you to Kevin Miracle, who is the new chapter leader in Tennessee, and some great things going to happen.
Yeah, I believe so. That's a cool ass name, though.
It is. It is.
I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we needed a leader for our chapter in Tennessee, we got a
miracle.
What do you say?
Good dad joke. Man.
Had some great time there at the Black Rifle Coffee Company, having some really good coffee. So
I'm
check
jealous.
them out.
I'm jealous. I didn't get to go.
Lunch at Mission Barbecue, which is always good.
Well, you just had a fun little trip, didn't you?
I'm telling you, it was a great trip. So I liked it a lot. We're also coming off of an event in Ohio that was really successful, thanks to James Clark, our lead in Cincinnati. We had a really good networking event with at Rebel Metal Brewery. It's a great spot in downtown Cincinnati if you're going to be in the area. Thank you to Cushman and Wakefield and Glide Fast Consulting for sponsoring that event. So, is Josh coming in? Okay, awesome.
Yay.
So I think we've got a late joiner here. Hey, Josh. He's going to mic up and get in. So we're excited to have more friends here in the podcast booth. So
we don't have this many people in the studio usually.
Josh?
So this is a good treat.
Yes.
did you get stuck by a train?
I did. Not struck, but stuck.
Not struck, but stuck. Well, we're glad to have you. For those of you who are regulars to the podcast, Josh has been on many times. Great member of our staff, and we're glad to have you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep our guest waiting anymore. We've been able to have some wonderful guests on, and this week is no exception. So we have Jeb Jarrell with us from Plentiful Wealth. Good morning, Jeb.
Good morning, Matt. Thanks
How you
for having
doing?
me. I'm doing great. It's a good morning to be out.
Even with us?
Even better because of you all.
Oh, what a guy. Thank you
wait.
so much. Yeah, you just don't
still
know us that
early.
well yet, that's all. But we're going to have a lot of fun. But Jeb, you are an Army veteran, right?
I am. Yep. It's been a couple years in the Army, mostly in the Presidio Monterey.
You know, it doesn't sound like you suffered too much in the Army.
You know,
I hear some horror stories about some of these bases, but Monterey, California was never one that people ever complained
It's
about.
beautiful
it's
there.
the truth. Honestly, I was lucky. I was blessed to be out there. I looked out my window, saw the bay. I miss it every day.
I bet you do. But now you're in beautiful Louisville, Kentucky.
Absolutely beautiful.
So how can you complain about that?
You know what? I'm just no comment.
Josh, where were you?
Fort Campbell.
Fort Campbell.
Yep,
Yeah,
so-
yeah. We were just talking about Fort Campbell.
Yep.
So.
So, I joined the military to see the world, and then they're like, "Hey, guess what? You're stationed in your home state. So, welcome to the Army."
Yeah. Isn't that the theme with everybody who seems to join the military? It's not quite exactly what they thought it was going to be.
No, yeah, absolutely.
For better, for worse, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the 4 years that I was in, like every second of it, even deployment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Jeb, you spent some time and suffered through Monterey, California, and then you transition out. And what's that like? Like,
Transitioning is interesting because you go from such a structured environment where pretty much every minute of your day is, you're told what to do.
mm-hmm.
And then you get out and all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, I have so much freedom. And so it's interesting. You almost have to make sure that you don't get lost in the freedom because you can lose yourself. Especially when you look at, so many of us in the military, that was our identity.
yeah.
And then you get out and you have to kind of rebuild who you are and figure out who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to be?
Which is a terrifying thing, right?
It is. It absolutely is.
It's great in that you have all these choices, but it's terrifying because you have all these choices.
Kind of like college,
It does sound
If you
like
go
that,
from
yeah.
high school and you have all that structured, I don't know, my parents were pretty, you do right or hit the road. But you go to college, you're like, I'm free. And you don't go to class. Nobody's telling you to go to class. You don't go to class.
And sometimes you
take
make
that.
bad decisions.
Yep, bad choices happen.
Yeah.
And well, to your point about college, so many of the guys that are getting out and girls that are getting out are going to college. So it's the exact same experience there too. So you're 100% right.
Well, that's good. So you transition and you ended up as a financial planner, right?
Yeah, it was kind of serendipitous. I left the ETS on a Thursday at like noon from California. Got back into Kentucky Saturday night at midnight. And then Monday morning at 8 o'clock, I had a job interview working for a financial planning firm. So I got the job. A couple of Air Force vets took a chance on me because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But they said, you know what, we think we can teach you this. So,
Okay.
That was in 2013. And 8 years later, I'm still doing it. I love it. And now I have my own firm.
But is that more the norm or more the exception?
Good question. I would say.
Like, do you think a lot of people come out going, I'm going to do this?
No, not at all. And honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I knew that I needed to make some money so I could pay my bills.
Yeah.
And it was an internship that had, pretty good pay. But past that, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think most people know that. I
Yeah.
think that's the great thing about internships. And we'll talk more about this later, too, probably. But they give you the opportunity to find what you do enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I knew from the Army that I wanted a desk job. I wanted to be inside. And so, I thought, hey, I enjoy economics. I enjoy stuff in that field. I thought, hey, maybe I'll be an accountant. Maybe I'll do something in corporate finance. I really wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But that was the first internship I got. So I figured I'd give it a shot. And then once I did, I realized I really enjoy this. It's good. I make good money doing it. And I get to help people. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, you just have to kind of go around and find what you enjoy, and that's to your point about college as well. That's a lot of the opportunities you have there is to get out there and you have the opportunity to fail. Honestly,
Yeah. Which we all need.
you do. That's how you grow.
Yep. So then you went to University of Louisville. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Wait, no, University of
Oh,
Kentucky.
goodness.
I get those
Hey, there
confused
we
a
go.
lot.
We have two of those
It's pretty
in
much
here.
the same school. You people are so freaking sensitive. I can't get over it. This is why our Big Ten schools, where I went, real schools, they just
they
handle
play
things a
football
lot
out there?
I
better.
don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they- I don't
For all
think
my
they're-
Not
for
winning
all
football
my
anyway.
Not even ranked, right?
for all my Purdue Boilermaker fans out there, we love you. So anyway, you've got a nice little school in the University of Kentucky.
I do. Yeah. I went to UK, so I did finish up my degree there. So I'd actually started out in college right after high school. Went directly
Okay.
in there. I was there for about 2.5 years, and I was studying mechanical engineering. And honestly, I wasn't mature enough to be there.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty familiar story for a lot of people that
Yep.
I did have too much fun. And then so
Easy
I said,
to do.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about that.
Those we'll have to censor some of those. So
Yeah,
we'll keep those.
that's another podcast episode.
Yep.
After hours, right?
So I decided that I was going to go to the Army. I had a family history of service. I'd always wanted to do it, And so I joined the National Guard at that point.
Okay.
And the ironic thing is, I left college because I was tired of studying.
Yeah.
Went to the Defense Language Institute where I studied Arabic for 12 hours a day, or 10 hours a day at that point.
Can you say something in Arabic?
Ahlan wa sahlan.
What's that say?
It just means hello.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
That's a lot of syllables for hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the.
That's a lot of work
It's
for
a
hello.
fancy way of saying hello. So yeah, it kind of jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire
Yeah.
at that point. But it was a great experience. I don't really get to use my language skills anymore because
Mhm.
you know anyone that is here that speaks Arabic probably speaks better English than I do. So it doesn't really it doesn't come into that much help. But it was a great experience and I loved it. So where was I going with that? Okay, so yeah, after I got out of the Army, I came back to UK and I finished up there. I decided my last year in the Army, I was in the med board process. And so had plenty of time sitting at a desk, read a lot about economics. And I realized I really enjoyed it. And so I wanted to do something in that area. I kind of mentioned that a second ago.
Yep.
But that's how I got to the point where I applied for the job at the financial planning firm. And then, from there, it's been my career.
Yeah.
So, and it's been really great talking about the transitioning process is that the Army provides so many resources for
Right.
you. I was able to pay for my undergraduate degree, my graduate degree, and my certified financial planner designation just through the Army money. First, I started using vocational rehab.
Yep.
And I used the post 9/11 GI Bill, and I actually even have still like 20 months left on the GI Bill, and so I might get a second master's degree out of this.
Well, why not?
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things I think we probably want to talk about is that there's so many opportunities out there if you leverage what's available to you.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of amazing.
And I think, and you and I talked about this a little bit yesterday when we had a conversation, but I'm just going to say it. Guys are the worst at this as far as utilizing resources. Don't say anything, Alexis. Don't say a word. But we tend to be a little slower and a little more stubborn. I think women do a better job with finding those resources and utilizing those resources. So what are some of the things that you think veterans, and Josh, jump in here too, what are some of those opportunities or resources that are available to veterans that they a lot of times don't use?
I think one of the coolest things that's out there is the DOD SkillBridge program. Is an internship program that you can start 180 days out from your ETS that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of that. But to my point about having my first internship and that, set me up for a career in my field, you can use the SkillBridge program as a way to do that.
Yeah.
And essentially it's an opportunity for you to interview for a company without any pressure.
Yep.
And so take advantage of that. If you don't know what you want to do,
Yeah.
get out there and try something. Find a program that's in the find a company that's in the SkillBridge program, and apply.
And we do that through USA Cares, actually through Fort Knox. And we don't have it all over the country, but for those of you who are in the Kentucky area, we do a senior leaders program where people can do just that, and they can interview with different companies. We advise them on redoing their resumes. That's kind of civilianize their resumes, so it makes sense. I actually looked at a young man's resume this morning who's coming right out of the Army, and I'm an idiot. Like I wasn't a veteran, and I'm looking. I don't know what this means, but so we try to help it make it so that people like me would understand what it means and what it's saying. Josh, what were you gonna say something?
No, I had no idea that it even existed. When I got out of the military, I literally went through ETS by the book. And, the military, they do prepare you a little bit to get back into the civilian world. But other than that, like I just knew about the GI Bill. That's all I knew about getting out. And so I took the 2-day course to get back into the civilian ways, which doesn't prepare you to be back into the civilian world because my transition coming out of the military was absolutely horrible. I couldn't find a job anywhere. I was an infantryman, so I had slim pickings pretty much of jobs I could get out of the military. So
yeah, that's what we hear a lot is just trying to figure out. I don't know what the TV was doing there. Kind of hopping. Sorry. That's what we hear a lot is just that it is oftentimes slim, and it's hard to figure out which way to go, and that whole kind of I just need a job thing, and then you can get into something that really isn't a good fit.
That's what I did. I looked for jobs, couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to go to college, so I took advantage of the GI Bill. Started going to college for accounting.
Yeah.
I did 2 years of that. Found out that wasn't for me.
Right.
So
It's a
Yeah.
very
yeah, and
lots
so
of math.
then I ended up going into a an art degree in graphic design. But
Yeah. And I'm glad you did, because you do a good job for
Me
you.
thank you, I
too.
appreciate it. I just that was something that I really enjoyed growing up. I always, from a young age, I enjoyed coloring and drawing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when I found out that I could get a job doing art,
Mm-hmm.
but in a different way,
Yep.
I was like, yeah, sign me up.
Yep.
Sign me up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good. So how do you help veterans now?
The biggest thing to helping veterans now for me is just being a resource.
Okay.
Anytime someone has a question, if I'm able to answer it, I love doing that. If I can't, then it's connecting them to a resource that can answer.
Yeah.
Who can answer that question?
Yeah.
Sometimes that is when we're looking at the resources that are out there. Like I mentioned, there's so many of them, and so
Right.
it's just figuring out, okay, what's the best answer for this person? What's the best way to go about getting the answer for them? So that's what it comes down to when for helping veterans.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've had much experience with this, but helping people coming out, probably my question is too simplified, but managing their money. Yeah,
okay.
And the reason I bring this up
I see.
is because at the bases I've been to, it's really interesting going in as a non-veteran to these bases, because you get this perspective. It is a whole nother world when you get in there. And something that the leaders often say is that these young kids are coming into the Army in particular. They're getting more money they've ever had in their life.
Yep.
And they do stupid stuff.
'Cause
Like
they
they'll
get
go
those-
buy a car at 20% interest.
Yeah.
That is the age-old problem in the military.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, anytime you drive off base, you're going to see, like you said, the used car
It's
dealerships.
bars, strip clubs, and our car lots.
exactly
I
what
mean,
it
that's
is.
Yeah.
all it is. Yeah.
So when it comes to helping people like that, there's a lot that needs to be done. The first is just financial literacy, because that is the basis of everything else. Knowing that you don't need to buy that car. You can live a great life with a $5,000 car versus a $40,000 car.
Right.
You're driving a tank, though, right?
Yeah.
A car. What do you need
Hey,
that
you
for?
got a $30 million car. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Good point.
Talking about the differences between the various military retirement plans. Something like 83% of those in the military get out before their 20 years is up, which I'm sure, Josh, you probably saw the exact same thing, that whenever I look at my peers, most of them are out. I mean, only a couple actually became lifers. So traditionally, if you were on the pension plan, it didn't matter. If you didn't stay till 20 years, you didn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a blended retirement system, so that it works kind of like a 401k. It's through the TSP program or TSP plan. And so the Army will actually contribute 1% for the first 2 years on your behalf of your pay, and then up to 5% matching after those 2 years are up. So it's a whole lot more like a traditional corporate plan.
Yeah.
And this is great, because if you're going to do a 4-year tour and then get out, then you'll actually have retirements left over after that you can take with you. And it's not just kind of a waste of a couple of years as far as retirement planning goes. So part of it is also making sure that the service members are doing the planning there, and that they're putting that money back. Because when you look at it, like I look back at myself, I was 21 years old in Monterey, and I went to Pebble Beach and had a great time, and I spent my entire paycheck. on
Gosh,
food.
you suffered.
I know,
You
it
poor
was-
thing.
It was terrible.
Gosh.
And so, but all my income was discretionary at that point.
Yeah.
My food was paid for if I wanted to go to the
And retirement was the furthest thing from your mind.
yeah, I think I got out.
Yeah.
I had I remember I had $42 in my TSP, which I just so do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of
Thank
rough
you.
on that
Yeah.
one.
Thank you for setting that example.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a financial planner then, obviously. So yeah, food is discretionary. Your housing is paid for. Your health care is paid for. Heck, you don't have to buy clothes.
Right.
I mean, you don't make a ton, but at the end of the day, if you make $2 or $3 grand a month, that is 100% discretionary if you're a single soldier in the barracks.
Just crazy. Yeah.
It is. So put money back. To Josh's point about getting a job as soon as you get out, the other thing that comes up a lot of times then is, okay, a lot of guys that separate, and I say guys, girls, whoever, when they separate, there's a gap between when you separate and when you start college.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you're going to get the GI Bill BAH stipend once you get into college, but you're going to need some money to carry you over during those weeks, months, however long it takes for that to kick in.
Right.
And so make sure that you have some savings. I mean, it's not hard to set back a couple $100 every paycheck, put it in your savings account,
Yeah.
and go ahead and start building that up because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's it's important to I think people coming out looking for jobs, the tendency is to try to find the best paying job, and what's a job that can give me a future that's going to pay the best. But one of the things that we see beyond the numbers of all this is that sense of purpose, and especially when you've had a career in the military that's been exciting. Maybe you've had a lot of responsibility. You've had a lot of people looking up to you. You've had a good, something you really love doing every day. And then you come out and you go into a job that is sitting in a cubicle in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. And you're like, this is horrible.
So that's the difference between job and career.
It is.
You know, like a job, you're just a little cog in a wheel in the big machine of life, and nobody cares. You could be replaced at any point.
But you can't put a value on that sense of purpose.
Right.
And being happy with your day to day. And I think the money's great, but you've got to have the blend of the money and the
mental health.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was getting
that's
at.
That's the largest part of it. If your mental health is not right, then it doesn't matter if you have a career or not. It's going to go downhill.
You could be making $100,000 a year and be miserable
right
doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we've seen veterans who have gotten to that point where they've got a good career, good family, making a good income, and they take their life. And you're like, it doesn't make sense. But if they don't have that sense of purpose, or they haven't dealt with the mental health issues coming out of the military, unfortunately, it can happen. And it happens 20 plus times a day.
So, do you think that leads to the rate of veteran entrepreneurs that are out there? Because veterans own businesses at a higher rate than
I agree. I
civilians.
totally do. When they're like, "Screw this!
I want to
gonna
build
make,
my own life."
I know what I want, and it's not there, so I'm going to make it." Right?
They want to do things their way, because a lot of the times when they're getting out of the military back into the civilian world, things are ran very oddly to them.
Right.
So they want to do something that is very, I guess, comfortable
Yeah.
to the way that they've been living for the longest time. So they go ahead and they start their own businesses, and I don't blame them.
So on that topic, I mean, what resources are available for veterans who want to start their own deal?
Sure. There are a ton out there. So I would say, going back to vocational rehab,
Mm-hmm.
if you come out, if you have a 10% disability or more from the VA disability rating, then they're going to be able to help you through a lot of the process, whether it's certifications, startup funds, stuff like that.
Okay.
There are specific loans for veteran-owned businesses
Mhm.
that you can take those out through the SBA. And honestly, there are also a ton of mentors out there who are happy to help.
Yeah.
Veterati is a great resource for that.
Yeah.
If you know what you want to do, if you have an idea, and you just want to kind of bounce it off someone who's already in the field, then set up a mentoring call on there.
Mm-hmm.
It can be 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever that looks like. And just say, hey, I know you've already been in the field. Most likely they're a veteran, or maybe they're just someone who supports veterans. It doesn't matter. Just the fact that they have experience there is really beneficial. And so, over the GWAT, post-GWAT era, there are millions of veterans out there. And most of us are out of uniform at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have questions, there's probably a veteran that is in a good place to answer those questions for you. So it's really taking advantage of your resources, that just being able to your point earlier, reach out.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask. And that's the biggest thing, is just being able to ask, and ask for that hand up.
And that's the thing. I mean, there's literally thousands and thousands. I forget the number of veteran nonprofits in the U.S. right now.
There's
But
a lot.
I think it's like 30,000
Yeah.
veteran. Why wouldn't you take advantage of all those? Why not? USA Cares does a little bit, and there's certain areas where we're good and certain areas where we're not. But there's so many other nonprofits who will fill in the gaps of where we miss, and vice versa. And so why wouldn't you take advantage
Knowing
of
where
that?
to start. Like, where do you
And maybe,
start?
is that it?
Maybe.
Is it
I mean,
overwhelming?
Google you can find everything on Google, right?
Yeah.
I guess. But it might be overwhelming to, like, where do I even start to look for that? Like, my first place is Google, but
Yeah.
you know, some of those things might not be on Google.
And pride. I think pride comes up that people don't want to feel like they're asking for a handout.
Yeah.
Right.
When in reality, it's not a handout. It's one, it's something you've earned through your service, and two, people enjoy helping. I mean, as long as you're earning it,
Yeah.
it's different than a handout. So
Yeah, it is. It is. But your more reputable nonprofits, military nonprofits, if they're worth anything, when you call and need help and they don't provide that, they're going to point you to the direction of the people who do.
Yep.
And if they don't, you're with the wrong group. So just a little tip.
Yeah.
But something to keep your eye out on. So, Alexis, what questions do you have? Because I know you're hiding your questions, so I won't ask them for you.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. You know, we say financial planner. So
Yep.
what does that mean? Like, what
He
does
plans finances.
that mean? Well, obviously,
So-
yes. But what is
Really, your question answered the question. We got to work on
Did
your
it?
questions.
No, that's a good question.
All right,
it's
go
a
ahead.
good question.
Actually, I like the
That's a great
question.
question.
Okay,
Because
all right.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions.
See.
The common misconception is that financial planners are something that you have when you've got $1 million in the bank and you have to be rich. Where I come in generally is it's a combination of two things. First is like the actual planning side of it, to Matt's point, and that is looking at your retirement, looking at your investments, looking at insurance and estate planning and all that, making sure that everything's kind of moving in the right direction.
What if I don't have any of that?
Then you should have a financial planner.
I have those things, but we do not have a financial planner.
Well, it's the biggest thing there is like looking at the big picture, making sure that everything's working together at the same time. The other part to that is, for me anyway, not all financial advisors or financial planners, but it's kind of coaching because so much of your finances is behavioral. And so it's stepping back and looking at the behaviors that are causing you to have both good and bad outcomes and figuring out how do we optimize that.
Cool. You were mentioned, you know, we were kind of talking before the show about balancing your checkbook. I don't know that a lot of people write checks anymore necessarily, but
Maybe one a year.
I mean,
Maybe.
I do for school here and there, but like,
I still have the same checkbook that I got when I was 15 years old. I'm 30. I'm turning 32.
I bet it's
later.
balanced though.
yeah.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
But see, who taught you how to balance your checkbook?
The bank
Well,
back in the day.
my dad.
See,
Did
yeah.
they? No, they didn't.
When I was 18 years old, the bank taught me how to balance my
My
checkbook.
dad taught me.
It's like most people that come out of the military go straight from high school into the military.
Right.
You don't learn that stuff in high school.
They
Yeah.
don't teach you how to adult anywhere.
Nothing.
And that's
Nothing.
part of adulting.
So you kind of
Yeah.
learn on the fly,
Mhm.
and
Hmm.
there's no finance anything. I didn't know anything about finances when I was in the military. Nothing.
If
And
if I didn't take a financial class, like they forced me in college, I don't know that I would know.
And
how
that's
to do all
where
that
I
stuff.
learned
Wow.
it is in college. But you know, I was one of those young and dumb soldiers that had a bunch of money and
You're still young and dumb.
I mean, yeah.
So how do we not be stupid with our money? Is like a
Yeah,
just general people.
I think the biggest thing is just education. And so there are some great books on that. Simple Path to Wealth is a good one. Vanguard, or there's a Boglehead's Guide to Investing. And it's just saying, you know what, I'm going to invest some time in myself and taking that time to read a book, listen to a personal finance podcast. I mean, if you're on Instagram, there are a ton of personal finance Instagram accounts. I'm one of them. And there's all kinds of stuff out there that it's back to Matt's point about resources. It's just, you know, they're out there. You just have to look for them.
So podcasts. You do have a podcast.
Do have a podcast. It's the Plentiful Wealth Podcast. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, any of those. And that's targeted towards, you know, Gen X, Gen Y, kind of getting started. You know, right now I've just put a 2-part episode out on the basics of financial planning. Like, what do you need to know about retirement? Because it's easy. Like I said, I'm 32. People my age are saying retirement's like 30 years away. But the point is, the key
it's
is
not.
there. Yeah, absolutely. You need to start now so you can have those, your earnings, your investments can grow and compound over that time frame. And it's so much easier to start now than try to fix it once you're.
Oh
20
man,
years on
and
down
you
the
know
road.
I've seen that too, and we end up learning so much from the mistakes of other people, and I see people who I've known who get into their 50s and they're thinking, oh crap, I'm 10 years away from retiring, and I don't have nearly the money I need to retire.
Or you
And
can't retire when you're 65 and
yeah,
you're still
yeah,
working.
and you're frantically, you know, putting money away, but at that point, it's really too late, isn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, you can usually find a way to do it, but
Yeah.
something has to give at that point. You have to either say
Your lifestyle changes, everything.
that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing. I mean, because there are always going to be levers you can pull, but the levers are work longer or retire with lower standard of living.
Yeah.
That's really your only options at that point.
Neither one of those
Start
work for me.
early.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're not
Sorry.
particularly good options, but
Right.
there are options.
That's awesome. So the podcast is going well?
Podcast is I'm
You
really
like it?
enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably noticed I like to talk, so it's
Right.
kind of fun. It's
Yeah.
just an opportunity for me to get out there and talk once a month and put my ideas out into the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of fun.
That's good.
So what do you do for fun? Do you have a fun podcast too? Or do you just
Yes, I do. I have a fun podcast too. So I'm a history nerd, and I love the state of Kentucky. Born here, lived here most of my life, and so I have Two Glasses of Bourbon, which is another podcast. Basically, I came up with the name because everyone always asks this. Great conversation lasts
Yeah.
for about 2 glasses of bourbon, about an hour,
like
and
it.
so
It goes downhill after.
it really does. You know, like
you never know where that's
I
going.
want the 3 bourbon podcast.
So that's just an interview podcast with people that I think are interesting. That's
Yeah.
all it comes down to. So I've had John Karloftis out of Lexington. I had Marianne Barnes, who's a master distiller, formerly at Castle and Key.
Yep.
A couple other pretty interesting people. So that's what I enjoy doing.
Talk about anything and everything.
whatever comes up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Well, good. Well, what are some things that you hope to accomplish yet? So you've got Plentiful Wealth up and running. You're kind of doing your own thing. What's the future look like?
That's a great question. So right now, Plentiful Wealth is just me. Been at it for about 6 months now, went out on my own. Within the next 6 months, I plan on making my first hire. Pretty excited about that.
Nice.
Within the next 3 years, I plan on bringing on both an accountant and an estate planning attorney as well.
Okay.
Right now, I do have an estate planning attorney that works sort of for me.
Okay.
So one of the issues I found was I would make referrals to him because, people need estate plans. You need a will.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't think about it, but you definitely need it. And I would make referrals, but nothing ever came out of it.
Yeah.
So it was so much easier when I started saying, oh, I've got a guy that'll handle that. He'll give you a call. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. So basically, I want to have a one-stop shop for financial planning, investment management, estate planning, and accounting.
Okay.
That's the goal. Within 5 years, I'll be there. I've got a kid right now. He's absolutely amazing. Just turned 1, and so a lot of that is
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. A lot of the goal right now is just making sure that he turns into a halfway decent human being.
That's the goal, right?
Yep.
That's the hope.
So honestly, I don't really know where that is right now. I think he's
Yeah.
pretty cool, but we'll see.
That's awesome.
And I think that's the biggest part of where I want to be, where I'm going. So,
Yeah. That's good. Well, I think you're doing great work, and I think it's really cool that you can help people along the path. I think it is important for people to know that wealth planning isn't only for the wealthy, and that it's maximizing whatever you have, and talking to somebody, consulting with somebody who knows what they're talking about. And I looked at your LinkedIn profile, and you've got a lot of abbreviations that I don't know what they mean. So I assume that you know what you're talking about.
like I said earlier, I'm a nerd. I keep going back to school. To my point,
Your titles after your name were longer than your name, I think.
you want to know the sad part?
What?
I took a couple off.
Oh my gosh. You're killing me.
My wife said it made me look like a jerk. So I took a couple off. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say anything, but
It's fair. It's fair.
no, that's good. But I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're there to help people. There's a lot of good resources out there, and there's a lot of bad resources out there. And I think especially for veterans, they can find somebody like you to say, okay, I'm out of the Army. I did get this job. What do I do now? Like, what do I do with this money that I've got? So I'm not stupid with it, and that I don't do dumb things with it, and that I don't get taken advantage of because, like I mentioned earlier, you drive right off any base, and there's all kinds of people waiting to take your money.
And there are also financial advisors that are looking to do that. So I won't get too much into that, but just
well, how do you know?
it's
That's a
hard.
good question. I mean, right? How do you know?
So there are a couple things to look for. The biggest thing is look for a fiduciary. Make
Okay.
sure that they are working in your best interest, that they're willing to say that they're working in your best interest.
Right.
Because there is a trend in the military area that a lot of senior NCOs, a lot of mid-level officers get pulled into certain companies that they will actually they'll use their service as a leverage point to get clients.
Right.
And maybe their offerings are great, maybe they're not, but you want to make sure that whoever you're working with has your best interest in mind.
Yeah, and I think that I'm sure that happens a lot with people with a fancy title coming out of the military. They want to promote that and advertise that and use it all over the place. But interesting. So that's a good tip, something to look for sure. So anything else that you would want people to know about you, about what you're doing, about financial planning, anything else that you want to make sure you mention today?
Yeah, sure. I would say if you want to get in touch, check me out at plentifulwealth.com or Jeb Jarrell Financial Planner on Instagram. I post on there a lot. That's kind of my main hub for everything right now. Or check out the podcast, Plentiful Wealth Podcast.
Nice.
And I appreciate
And 2 bourbons.
Yeah.
and two glasses of bourbon. Absolutely. 2 glasses of bourbon is a little more sporadic. That's one of those things that just whenever I have time, I put it out there.
Yeah.
And with the kid, I don't have as much time as I would like, but you know how
That's
that goes.
funny.
So
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you could be on the USA Cares podcast with us, and we're gonna have you back sometime, and
thanks. I'm excited.
we'll have fun and keep helping people, man. You're doing good work.
Next time I'll bring the bourbon.
Yeah,
Yes.
where
There we
is
go.
the bourbon?
There we go.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but now that you mention it, I'm a little upset. I know it's in the morning, but still,
Morning bourbon.
yeah, you can have them.
You know, people could be listening to this in the afternoon. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's
This is
true.
true.
We have to consider that. I'm doing it for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. The USA Cares, I can't talk. USA Cares podcast is growing rapidly. We now have listeners in 11 countries around the world, and it is growing very, very quickly. And a large part of that is due to the Speakeasy Podcast Network and the great work being done by Wayne Media. So I want to take a second to thank them. And make sure if your company doesn't have a podcast yet and you're thinking, well, that's something that sounds a little technical, a little difficult, these guys make it easy. So definitely check them out. I don't remember their website. Alexis, do you have it?
Way to put me on the spot.
But Google them,
Yes.
and you will find them. But good people. So definitely check them out. I want to thank all the sponsors and all the people that are helping USA Cares do what we do. And we are getting inundated with calls from veterans right now who need help, who are really struggling. Many of them are on the verge of losing their houses or have already lost their house. Many of them are living in cars. We got to do better than this for our veterans. And the people who are giving money to USA Cares, you're keeping people in their homes. You're keeping families together. And don't forget, when a veteran is suffering, their family is suffering too. And so this is kids, this is spouses. So we need to do better, and we are doing everything we can to make that happen, including opening chapters around the country. So thank you for everybody who's making it happen. Check out usacares.org. Go to the chapters tab. Look and see if there's anything near you. If there isn't, get a hold of us today. Let's get something started. You can reach out to us at info@usacares.org. Alexis, where can they find us on social media?
Everywhere. We are
Okay,
everywhere.
great answer. We go
Everywhere.
through, Josh, every week we go through this.
We
And
do.
every week she knows she's going to make me mad. Let me ask you, what social media platforms do you think people could find us?
Let me start with
Unbelievable.
the newest one. We are now on TikTok.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, we have one TikTok and it's
We do.
horrific. It's horrible.
It's
You know,
it is
I should
fun.
be promoting our social media. That's awful.
Hey,
All
But
right.
you know, we have some views. We have some likes.
Yes.
I haven't
Oh
checked
my
it out
gosh.
in a week. Was it last week? I think we posted
It was last week.
Yeah, it
And
was
we
last
had
week.
The last
Special
time I
thanks to
looked.
Lexi Hedges for setting that
yep.
up.
She's
Yeah.
she's going to be
She's gonna be a
curating
rock
our
star.
content. For
It is a
TikTok.
learning
Yeah.
process, and we are learning. But you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. We are on the gram.
See
are-
how
we
well
are
he did that?
everywhere.
Why was that hard?
It wasn't.
Okay.
Everywhere encompasses. all
Alexis, yeah,
of
she
the
summed it
social
up.
media.
Oh, it's everywhere. You can find us anywhere.
We are on all the socials.
We are a social place.
So if there's a platform and YouTube, did we mention YouTube?
I did.
Okay, sorry,
Sure
right, I
did.
missed that. So if there's a platform that you prefer, go ahead and like us. Go ahead and follow us. We just want to get the word out about not only USA Cares, but all the veteran nonprofits that are out there that are helping people and getting people through. If you would like to become a monthly donor, that is a great way to help people on a regular basis. For $25 a month, if you can sign up at usacares.org, you can become part of our Cadence program, and we will send you a very nice USA Cares coffee mug. So I hope that
Tumbler.
It's a
thank you,
travel.
Tumbler.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
So yeah, we want you to become part of the USA Cares family. We want you to subscribe to this podcast, come back each week, keep listening, and thank you all so much for being a part of this. Can't wait to see you next week.
We'll see ya.